This is Asia. Hello, hi. I'm gonna show you how to make yourself a really good, perfect for winter crochet balaclava. It comes in only one size, it's unisex. If you change the yarn weight and the hook to be corresponding to the yarn, the size might turn different. If you want to make it smaller, go hook size down and take corresponding yarn. Same if you want to make it a bit bigger. So take hook size up and corresponding yarn. It's something you put on your head. There is no that much difference in heads, and that's what I'm saying is that if you want to make it for a kid, you would need to use lighter weight yarn and a smaller hook, so the granny squares turn out a little smaller, and this way you will end up with a smaller sized balaclava. The measurements of one granny square, it's about 10 centimeters. You can base on that. If you make it smaller, the whole balaclava will be smaller. If you make it bigger, the whole balaclava will turn out bigger. It's made out of 12 granny squares, and then the ribbing to connect the granny squares, we're also using just a hook. Throughout the video, the screen sometimes will show you something different from what I'm saying. But the point is there is two options, and I'm telling you these two options, and then I'm kind of explaining what I'm doing. I hope that makes sense in the video. Also, if you prefer a written version, there's one in the description. We're using a sunburst granny square, but you can use any granny square you like and then just connect it the way I show. For this project, we're using Trob's Daisy yarn. This is DK or worsted weight yarn, 4.5mm hook. I'm going to show you how to make one granny square, but you can always go back in the video and repeat it as many times as you need. We'll need 12 granny squares in total. We're going to start with a magic ring and then chain 2, or you can make a stack single crochet. Now into the magic ring, make 15 double crochet. You should have a total of 16 stitches, including the first chain when you finish. You can pause here to make sure your count is correct before we move on. To finish this round, insert your hook into the top of the chain and make a slip stitch to connect. Second round is the puff stitches. So we're going to start the round by chaining 2, and to make the puff stitch, yarn over and insert your hook into the same stitch. Yarn over again and pull up a loop. You repeat this a total of 3 times. You should end up with 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and then pull through all 7 loops on your hook. Chain 1 to secure that puff stitch. Now you'll repeat this process by making 1 puff stitch in each of the 16 stitches around. You should end up with a total of 16 puff stitches. To finish this round, insert your hook into the first chain space and make a slip stitch. In round 3, we're going to make the cluster stitch. So first, chain 2. Now to make the cluster stitch, yarn over and insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through 2 of the loops on your hook. You will repeat that whole sequence 4 times. You should end up with 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook to complete the cluster. Now chain 2. Repeat this around the circle, placing one cluster in each chain 1 space and then chaining 2. You should end up with 16 clusters in total. To finish this round, insert your hook into the first chain 2 space and slip stitch. Now on to the final round, and this round is what gives the square its shape and will have a mix of stitches. So first, chain 4. Into the same chain 2 space, make 3 treble crochets. Then, into the next chain 2 space, make 3 double crochet. Into the next chain 2 space, make 3 half double crochet. Into the next chain 2 space, make 3 double crochet. Into the next chain 2 space, make 3 treble crochet again, and then chain 2. Then make 3 treble crochet into the same chain 2 space. This is how you create the corner of the granny square. And now we repeat 3 double crochet in the next chain 2 space, three half double crochet in the next chain 2 space, three double crochet again, and then making the corner with 3 treble crochet, chain 2, and then again 3 treble crochet. You'll continue this sequence all the way around the square until you meet the first stitch. When you're almost at the end, you need to make 3 treble crochet in the same chain 2 space as you started. So don't miss that. Then just chain 2. Now I'm just placing the granny squares as they're supposed to be sewn. You basically place a row of 5 granny squares, then 5 granny squares on top and 2 on top of each other in the middle. Now these two are going to be connected with these two, and on the other side the top ones are going to be connected with these ones. But first we're going to connect them right here. Make a slip knot and put it on your hook. Now take your first granny square and insert your hook back loop only into the second chain on the corner of the granny square. As you can see, there's 2 chains and you need to make sure you're putting it into the second one. Then when you're in, take your second granny square and insert into the same second chain back loop only. And now you have 3 loops on your hook. Make sure the yarn that you're working with comes from the bottom. Okay, so again, we insert our hook into the second chain back loop only, and we do that on both granny squares. And then when the yarn is going from the bottom, you slip stitch. So you pull the yarn through all the loops on your hook. Then we basically repeat the process. So we insert the hook on the right granny square back loop only, and then on the left granny square back loop only, and we slip stitch through all the loops on our hook, and we repeat that all the way until we get to the first chain on the corner on the other side. Here I'm slip stitching my last stitch. And don't forget about the first chain on the corner. Okay, now this is complete. We're going to take another 2 granny squares and we're going to insert again the same way, starting from the second chain on the corner, going back loop on the right granny square and then going back loop into the second chain on the left granny square. And we keep slip stitching, back loop only, once on the right, then on the left. And we slip stitching all the way until we connect all 10 granny squares together. When we have all 10 granny squares connected, you can cut the yarn and we're going to move on to the next connecting part. So we're going to start right here and we're going to go upwards. Now we need to connect this side with the 2 granny squares that are on top. So we start the same, we're making a slip knot and putting it on our hook, then inserting back loop only into the second chain on our right granny square, then into the second chain back loop only on the left granny square, and taking the yarn from the bottom, we're slip stitching through all 3 loops on our hook. Make sure that the yarn is coming from the bottom, and we repeat that, slip stitching back loop only all the way until you meet the seam from the previous connecting. When you're close to the seam, act as usual. Go into the last stitch and then go into the first chain on the corner and make slip stitch, taking yarn from the bottom. When you do that, just go over the previous slip stitches and insert your hook into the second chain on the corner of the granny square that is next. You basically totally ignore the seam and you just do exactly the same over and over again, connecting the granny squares together. Continue until there is no more stitches left. When you're at the top, we need to connect this side with the granny square that is not connected to anything yet. So again, as usual, we're going to insert our hook on the right, back loop only into the second chain on the corner of the granny square, and then back loop only into the second chain on the corner of the granny square that is not connected to anything yet. Taking the yarn from the bottom, slip stitch through all 3 loops on your hook and continue until there is no stitches left. Then we have to connect the next granny square on the right and the other granny square that is not connected to anything yet. And we're going to do it exactly the same way. So going back loop only first into the second chain on the corner of the granny square on the right, and then back loop only to the second chain on the corner of the granny square on the left, and slip stitching through all 3 loops on your hook. So connect here. Okay, now here and here, this needs to be connected. So we need to kind of flip it like this. So we insert our hook on the right side, then on the left side to make a slip knot through back loops only. And right now it should be very easy for you. You can fold it a little bit and we still go back loop only on the right, then back loop only on the left, and we make a slip stitch. Continue doing this until there is no stitches left. Okay, here I am. I connected only 2 granny squares. Now the 2 other granny squares, and you make it exactly the same way as you did. Cut the yarn when you're done. And when you do this, you should be even able to put it on your head with some holes, but it's possible now. Okay, now this is the next part where you have to connect all around the same way, and I hope you already know how to do this. Just a reminder how to go above the seam from the previous slip stitches. You just ignore it and you go into the second chain on the corner of the granny square. It's the same everywhere. We have one last space to make slip stitches into, and it's the little hole at the tip of your head, and you do it as always. So start with a slip knot, insert your hook on the right, then on the left, back loop only, and make a slip stitch. Continue until there is no hole anymore. Now when every granny square is connected, you need to choose where is the front, where is the bottom of your balaclava. So this way you know where to do the neck ribbing and where to do the face ribbing. For the neck ribbing we need 25 stitches, and for the face ribbing we need just 5. And when doing the ribbing, here where the connections are, we'll be doing a decrease, and we do it on every seam that we need throughout making the ribbing. So to start the ribbing, we're going to make a slip knot and insert our hook in the middle of a granny square, back loop only again, and we make a slip stitch. Now we need to chain 25 plus 1 turning chain, so in total 26. And now 26. Insert your hook into the second loop from your hook and make a single crochet. And now we will be inserting our hook into each chain, making a single crochet all the way down. Okay, for me this is the last chain, and now to finish this row we need to look back at the granny square at the bottom and go into back loop. Actually, the way I'm holding it, it's front loop, but all it matters, it has to be the loop that is closer to the inside of the balaclava. You need to insert there and make a slip stitch. To start the next row, make sure you skip those 2 slip stitches and insert your hook back loop only into the first single crochet you did and make a single crochet. And we are going to repeat this all the way up, back loop only single crochet until there is no stitches left. At the top, put your last single crochet and turn. You do not have to chain 1, but if you prefer to, go on. And we're going to repeat this, going back loop only single crochet all the way down. When you're at the bottom, again look for the next stitch on the granny square, insert their back loop or front loop only and make a slip stitch to finish the row. To start a row, again go into the next stitch, back loop or front loop only and make a slip stitch. Then turn your work and continue going back loop only single crochet. Make sure you skip those 2 slip stitches and continue. Here at the seam, as I said, we need to make a decrease, so there is 2 ways you can actually do that. So let me finish my row. Always make sure there is 25 stitches, and when you're done, depending on how many stitches you have left to the seam, you can either take the last stitch from the granny square and the stitch on the seam at the same time and slip stitch through both loops and then add 1 more slip stitch to start the next row, or you can take the stitch on the seam and first stitch on the next granny square at the same time and slip stitch through both loops and then add 1 more slip stitch to start the new row, depending on how many stitches you have left to the seam. Then continue going up and down, making single crochets, back loop only. So every seam you repeat these 2 options, making a decrease. And then when you get to this point, the connection part, making it into the whole circle, depending also where you finish, either at the top or at the bottom, you have to make 1 more row without connecting to anything. For me, I finished at the first chain on the corner of a granny square, and I'm going to single crochet back loop only, then I'm going to turn and single crochet back loop only down, and then I'm going to connect the same way as always, back loop only to the next granny square. But if you finish at the top, you just need to go downwards, upwards, and again downwards, and then connect to the other side of the balaclava. So I just did the last row with the connection, and now as you can see there is no more stitches left. So instead of joining it to the other side yet, I'm going to turn and single crochet back loop only upwards. At the top I turn my work again, and now I'm crocheting downwards. Here I'm just finishing my row. And now we need to connect it with the other side of the balaclava, as I said, to make the space for your face and for the neckline. So as usual, we're going into the second loop, starting at the top chain and slip stitching to finish, and then finding the next stitch. In this case it's the next chain. We go through back loop only and we slip stitch to start the next row. And we continue as usual, working single crochet back loop only, upwards, downwards, slip stitching, and doing the decrease on the seams. Keep crocheting and I'll meet you when there's no stitches left. All around, remember about the seams, make a decrease here, just like before. Here I'm finishing the row and starting my last row. As you can see, there is no more stitches, so I'm just going to go upwards and cut my yarn at the top. My last single crochet, I'm going to leave a longer tail, cut my yarn and pull through the hook. Now we need a needle, so let's thread it. Let's flip our work the wrong side up. And when we do that, put both sides that need to be connected like this together next to each other. And first we go into the whole stitch and into the chain that we started with on the other side. And we just pull it through. Now you insert the needle from the inside, going through the whole stitch, and you pull. Now on the other side, you go from the inside through the chain that we started with and you pull. And you keep going, doing it on one side, then on the other, always going from the inside out. When you did a little bit, you can check, pull it, and you will see no seam. Do it all the way down. Don't forget about the last stitches, obviously. And here I'm also showing you how to finish it, how to secure it. What I do is I just go around some stitches and I'm going back into that loop I made. This creates a little knot. And then I just hide the end. Done. As you can see, it's almost seamless. Now we need to do the ribbing for our face, and we start exactly the same, but instead of chaining 25, we're going to chain 5. And I'm going to start again in the middle of any granny square, going back loop and slip stitching. And now I'm going to chain 5. And 6 for turning chain, and turn your work. And again, we're inserting into the second loop from your hook, making a single crochet all the way down into each chain. finish the row, again we slip stitch into the next stitch on the granny square back loop only. To start the next row, slip stitch into the next stitch on your granny square back loop only again. Turn your work and keep working back loop only, single crochet, upwards, downwards, slip stitch. If you meet a seam from connecting the granny squares, make a decrease like before. Continue going around. Until you reach these rows that we didn't connect to anything. They are around your chin area. I hope it makes sense. You basically treat it like two seams next to each other, so you either make a decrease to finish the row and normal slip stitch to start the row, and then again decrease and slip stitch, or the other way around, you start with a slip stitch, then decrease, slip stitch, decrease. I mean, this space right here, if you're here, here's what you're going to do. And right now, the next place I'm supposed to slip stitch into is on the ribbing. So I'm inserting my hook into the last stitch on the granny square and into the first row of the ribbing, making a decrease. This way I finish the row, and I'm just going to make a slip stitch into the next row to start another row. I turn my work, and my work single crochet back loop only, upwards then downwards, and again I'm going to start with a decrease going into the next row of the ribbing. This time I'm going to start with a slip stitch into the next row of the ribbing, and then I'm going to make a decrease going into the next row and into first stitch of the granny square. I turn my work and I keep working until there is no stitches left. And here again I am finishing my row and starting another one and just working upwards, and I'm going to cut my yarn and then connect it exactly the same way as we did before. So I'm putting my yarn into the needle and I'm going to start at the top. And remember about working on the wrong side. So now always start where the yarn comes from, so at the top for me, and I'm going through the chain that we started with and the whole stitch on the other side. This is our first stitch, and now we start working into next stitches, going from the inside, pulling outside, once on the right side, then on the left side, and keep going until there is no stitches left. secure your yarn. This way it's seamless and you can't really tell where you connect to, which is great. And that's it, you have your own balaclava. Don't forget to weave in the ends though.